I just want to show you real quick. This is what growth looks like. Because what's actually happening right now is that I have already recorded this episode with the amazing Amanda Kingsley. And there was a tech issue. And so we've decided that we're going to go back and re-record the intro. This would never have happened a year ago. And so I just want to say for everyone listening, when you continue to do a thing, you just get better at it. It's just what's true. It gets better. And my evidence for that is this episode is awesome. No joke, not even ashamed to say it. It's awesome. I think it's the most important conversation on the internet right now. That's actually what I believe. That is my thought. So what's happening is Amanda Kingsley is going to join us. She actually has already joined me, but she is a fantastic life coach and doula and podcast host and author, and she's all the things, mom of 3. And she wrote a book about abortion because she went through it in her 40s. And as a result, she felt like there was a big hole in the conversation in our culture. And so she has made it her mission to fill that hole. And she's going to talk to us, and it's so good. So good. But first, we are back. So the first thing that we always do is talk about celebrations. I'm going to tell you mine, and I hope that you will share yours with me as well. This isn't live, so you can't do it in the chat, but you can send me a message of your celebrations. I invite you, in fact. I triple dog dare you, if you watch this, to send me a celebration in a DM. That's what I dare you to do. Ha! So anyway, celebrations are really important to notice, and it's because if you don't notice that you're celebrating, if you don't celebrate, then you don't notice that you're doing something well. And so actually, I would say this is actually what I'm doing well today, but I'm going to tell you my celebration for when we filmed this episode, which is that I have made the decision to go down on my hours at work as a nurse. And I am really excited about that because it means that this is working. And like, it's happening. I can't believe that like the train continues to move forward. So it's like another step in, I'm a coach, man. And it's who I am, and it's what I want to do, and it's what I want to be. And I love the part of me that's a nurse. A part of me is always going to be a nurse. I am a nurse. It's just who Tyson is. But I'm evolving into something that's like huge and bigger than both of those things. And that's really cool. And this is one of those times. So I'm celebrating that I'm going down on my hours and being able to spend more time as a coach. That's very exciting. I hope that you will send me your celebrations. I would love to hear them. I love celebrating you. It's my favorite thing to do. So now let's move on to the lesson for today. All right. Today we are going to talk about fear and what fear feels like to you. So how do you know when you feel fear? How do you know that you're scared? I'll just give you like a second. Do you know anybody? Do you know the answer? How do you know when you're scared? The answer is you feel a change in your body. That's the real answer, like physiologically, that's the answer. I think that some people don't notice that they feel a physical change in their body. Some people don't notice it at all. And some people don't notice it until it's big. And what I want you to start to notice is when it's really small. Because when it's really small, it's really, really manageable. We can handle it. But when it gets louder and louder and louder, because you're telling yourself not to be scared, by the way, but as it gets louder and louder and louder, what is going to happen is that you're going to think, first of all, I shouldn't feel this way. And the management of the problem is going to become much harder to do. Not impossible. There's no such thing as a problem that can't be solved. However, it's going to become more challenging for you. So I would love it if you would start to notice how you feel when you're afraid now. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, and I just want you to try to remember what it feels like. I don't want you to pull up a memory of when you were scared. Yes, that will work, but that will also cause you trauma, and I'm not here to cause you trauma. So I just want you to remember, if you can, what it feels like to be scared. So what came up for you? Did you feel maybe butterflies in your stomach, or maybe you got cold or hot? Some people get really tense, start to like scrunch things. Some people feel it in their neck and their shoulder. I'm not sure. It could be anywhere for you. You are your own individual human. I want you to learn what that is so that you can identify it. Why are we talking about this? I'm so glad you asked. We are going to talk about this because I have a feeling that this conversation might bring up some fear. And so I want you to notice that. Even if you fully support abortion, honestly, and especially if you have had an abortion, fear might come up when it's discussed. And that is okay. Nothing has gone wrong. Everything is fine. Sometimes we feel scared, and that gets to be okay. This does not mean that you have terrible thoughts about abortion, or that you shouldn't have had the abortion that you had. That isn't what those thoughts mean. All that it means is that you have a feeling of fear that happens to everyone all the time. A lot of us are really scared a lot right now, and we're working on it. But it has to be okay first so that we can get rational enough to solve the problem. Because if we stay emotional, then all that's going to happen is that we're going to ignore how we feel, push it down, and that's all the energy that we have to do. So nothing else happens. We can't solve any of our problems. So all I want you to do today is just notice if that feeling that you just identified comes up in your body. Just notice it. That's it. That's all I want you to do. Just consciously think, oh, there it is. That's it. That's all I want you to do. Now, for my more advanced students, the people who have been working with me for at least a year, you can do step 2, which is you notice it, and then you identify what happened. We have to get your circumstance on board. We have to figure out what did it. So whatever it was, maybe I said a sentence, maybe Amanda said a sentence, maybe something we said made you think of something. Whatever that is, I want you to identify that. So step 1, just identify the feeling. Step 2, notice it, and then notice what the trigger was. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Okay? As you watch this episode. That was a bit of a long introduction, I feel like, but I'm not looking at myself and it's weird. So, that's it. I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope that you enjoy this. This was, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it. So I hope that you learned something. I hope that you feel your feelings, and just know that you're safe and that I love you. Okay? All right, so Amanda.
Yay.
I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for taking your time out of your very, very busy life to come and talk to us and teach us. I think that this subject is so, so important. Can you tell us, introduce yourself? Could you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I always start with I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 3. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We've been together for over 20 years. I live in this cute little village. I am now oddly, passionately driven to talk about abortion. This is not something I planned. This is not something I really thought about much, other than kind of identifying politically and believing that women should have the right to choose. I don't really think about it much. And my life led me in a path of things to coaching. And right around the time I found coaching, I had just had an abortion. And so all the pieces just started coming together, and I felt like that experience happened for me, and that I now had an opportunity to fill this, what is really a hole. Like there's not, I think you said earlier, I think you'll find the way she talks about it is different.
Yeah.
And so my viewpoint really does attempt to, it does fill the hole, but it's a very big hole.
Yeah.
So that is why I use the language attempt. So I am now a certified feminist life coach who talks about abortion every day.
Okay, I have about 1 million questions.
Okay. Can you hear my dog?
No, actually, it's great. So, first of all, I want to talk about me first.
I want to talk about you too.
Because this was a new, now, what I will say is that I had an abortion when I was 20.
Let's talk about it.
I know, and I wasn't sure that I was going to tell you that here. But I've decided that this is the most important conversation that I've been a part of yet on Facebook. So let's just do it, right? Let's just do the thing.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I was 20, 21 at the time, and I had just graduated college, and obviously had no idea what I was going to do. I was in music theater school. So I just graduated from a conservatory, and now, like 6 months later, I found out I was pregnant. So it was not the time for a baby. And my journey, I am very, very healed, and I didn't feel guilty at the time. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was making the choice that was right for me.
Yeah.
But I want to pick your brain about, there are other narratives out there, and I guess you're the expert here on, like, what do women think when they go through this? What are their thoughts? Do you know some big ones that pop up a lot?
I do. And I think you're right. I mean, for some women, coming out of college, age 20, 21 is the right time. Like, and that's where it's just all so personal.
Yes.
Some, and even generalizing as women, you know, all people have abortions. So we even using that language is touchy these days. But some people are ready at that age, at that time. You might have had other life circumstances been in place. Maybe you just got your dream job and were settled with somebody. I have no idea. Yeah. I think the point is that it's so different for everybody. There's no rules. It's not like, well, I checked this box and this box and this box, so now if I get pregnant by choice or not by choice, it'll be a good time to keep the baby. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. You'll notice I do use the language, the baby. You might not. Some people don't. For me, I had, right?
Yes. I never use that language ever.
Yeah. And that's okay. What? And I used to think I had to stop because other people might not. But for me, I had my abortion after 3 kids. Right. So when I was 6 weeks pregnant with them, they were babies. And so I couldn't just like make this leap in my head, oh, well, this one I don't want. Right. So it's not a baby. I do try to follow the language that my audience, whoever I'm talking to, uses. But I think that's like another part of the conversation is we have to let people say what feels good to them. Right. Yes. So, I kind of went off into a tangent when I used the word baby. I forget what it was, but my point is it's all so unique for each of us. Mm-hmm. Many people do identify as pro-choice, feel really empowered making their decision, and then are overcome by sadness or confusion or just a change in identity. So it's not, maybe they don't regret it, but they are confused because they're having human feelings. And then we're now wondering, is this sadness or is this confusion or is this questioning mean I did the wrong thing?
Yeah.
And so I think, I love that do you start all your lives with feelings? It's so good.
I start them all with celebrations, but today I thought that we really needed to identify what might come up during this talk.
It's so good. And I think that's my thing, is like, we have to allow all the feelings, and fear might come in and out, right? For some people, especially like at your age, 2021, the people who talk to me and have had procedures at that age, the fear is often, if I want to, will I get pregnant again?
Yes.
Did I just ruin my only opportunity? Will I be punished?
Yes.
Sometimes it's, I wish this wasn't as frequent, but one of the most frequent concerns is, I did it for somebody else, right? I didn't follow my intuition. I didn't follow what I knew was right.
Yeah.
I had it because he told me to, or I had it because my mom made me. So I feel like that is one of the key things that leads people to me. Because some people have abortions, move on, never think about it again.
Yeah.
Some people have abortions, feel terrible, go to their priest or pastor and manage it that way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, oftentimes the people who come to me are just kind of like all the things. It's like they're just in the mess of all of it.
Yeah.
And so it just really looks different for everybody. But I do think there's some key pieces: not following your own intuition or your own knowing. Our lack of self-love and self-compassion plays a huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we can't have compassion for the self that made the choice, it's really easy to choose regret or feel shame.
Yes.
So those are some things that come up. Yeah.
I wanted to tell you that I'm a labor and delivery nurse, and so I talk about this with people a lot, quite often.
Yeah.
And this morning I was telling someone that I was doing this with you tonight, that we were going to go live and have this important conversation. And she said, she just completely opened up. I have had one. I actually had a couple. She said, I was a bad girl.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like,
mm-hmm.
I wish that we had talked about this before this moment, because I have to go home. But isn't that such a, first of all, she just started gushing to me for minutes and minutes and minutes. And so I found that fascinating, that I think that this is a conversation that people are dying to have. And also one that makes us nervous.
I think it's so interesting how we label ourselves as bad girl, and that's so easy to do, maybe because we've heard it, or it feels easier to label ourselves, and like that actually is a way of making sense of our situation, right? Yeah. Like, if I label myself as a bad girl, I can put myself somewhere,
right?
And I don't feel so lost and confused.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
But if I am interested, I can take the time and go, wait a second, what is a bad girl? Because it's really easy for us to be like, I'm a terrible mom. Like, wait, what is terrible mom?
Yeah.
What does bad girl mean? Can we dissect that a little bit and break down? Do I still want to believe it after I identify what I'm making it mean?
So good.
But it's really easy to just be like, I'm a bad girl. I don't talk about that part of my life. And the other thing that, I don't know that this is happening for your coworker, but the other thing that happens a lot is people compartmentalize it, lock it in a box, and then try and make up for it.
Ooh, what does that look like?
So if this piece of my life makes me feel like a bad girl, I need to be a good girl everywhere else.
Ooh.
To balance the scales, right?
Uh-huh.
So even though the impact, like, I don't think about my abortion every day, but the impact it's having is definitely, and maybe not for her, I'm just saying, like, for a lot of people, that kind of stuff starts to come out once you start exploring.
Yes.
I didn't even realize I've been overcompensating because I have this belief. So it's
How
many
long
layers.
ago was that for you?
5 years ago this March, so last month.
And how long did it take you to get over the physical sensations? Like, how long did that last?
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm going to answer it personally, but I hesitate to answer it because I think listeners are like, oh, if it took her that long, it should take me. Why was it so faster for me? Why did it take longer for me? Because I'm very self-aware. I was in the coaching world. I knew how to explore it. I made a lot of decisions ahead of time that set me up for success. But I did spend the first, I never regretted it, and I never felt guilty or shameful, but I did have all the feelings. I felt shame that I got pregnant in the first place. My IUD fell out, right? So I processed that shame. I felt shame that I wasn't like super wealthy and could afford as many kids as I wanted. I felt shame, right? So it was really interesting to watch all the feelings come up. So I did process a lot of stuff for the first year, I think. Obviously, like, well, maybe not obviously. Moving into the full year, it became less and less and less and less. I do remember a shift happened around 3 years where I like never thought about it ever. I mean, I talk about it all the time, but my own personal experience. I think the first year was definitely big feelings.
Yeah. Having gone through trauma like this, I can tell you that I'm about the same way. It was about a year for me too. Not about abortion, but other things. You know what I mean? I've noticed that it takes me about a year to process what's going on when it's this big, you know? I had another question I wanted to ask you because I was fascinated by my own brain when I went to write the post that marketed this episode.
Tell me.
Fascinating. So the way that I write is I just sort of just blah. Like it just comes out of me. I know how I want to talk. I know what I want to say. I'm really excited and motivated, and I feel like that comes through when I speak. And when I sat down to write this, I was blank. I had no idea. I felt like the words that I was going to use would, I was very worried about making light of the situation. That if I had to be very careful about the words I chose because I didn't want to upset anyone. And that became very apparent because it took me about 30 minutes to write that little thing. And then it's all I used, if you'll notice. I just copy and pasted it every single time because it was so hard to write the first time. So I think what was happening is I was worried about what people would say when we started talking about this. Are we going to get like in trouble in a weird way? I don't even know what that means.
Haven't gotten in trouble yet.
What does that mean? Like, what am I afraid of exactly? Do you know, do people have this thing or is this just me that
I have a lot of clients come to me, they can't even say the word. They can't even say abortion, and it takes them a few sessions to be able to even say the word. That's a place where I think you've highlighted that piece of like now I'm not saying you have a lack of self-compassion, but as this came up, it was a moment.
It was.
Where, oh no, I need to say and do the right thing versus like, of course I'm having a hard time saying this. Like that's compassion is like, of course you're having a hard time. A lot of people don't talk about this. Like you don't know all your friends' opinions. You have no idea what someone might come on and comment. That's the kind of self-compassion that I think we can learn through something like abortion because it does strip us down to like a really raw, vulnerable place. And that's what you were feeling. was that raw vulnerability. Like if I write this word and put it in the world, what's going to happen, right?
Yes. I was even worried about upsetting you.
Like, I know. I get it.
It's crazy. And so I just sat there for a little bit and was like, man, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm a labor and delivery nurse. I talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah. It still happens to me. And so I have those moments, like I'll hear about a particular story or read an article and be like, wow, I don't even know what to think about this. And I'm not sure I could compose any intelligent words around it.
Yeah.
And so those moments are really humbling for me because I do talk about abortion every single day, and it helps me go like, oh, if I feel this way in this moment, of course my clients are struggling so much. Like I literally think about this all day long, every day, and sometimes it's still like, ooh, but that, could I do that? Am I willing to talk about it there?
Yeah. That still happens to you.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Oh, it still happens to me.
That's fascinating. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And
but that's just human, right? Like it's just who we are. We're always growing and changing. Even just being on live with you. Like I'm a podcaster. I shine in my podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I shine in my writing. Mm-hmm. Being on live, on video, and I got a sunburn yesterday at the ski mountain, so that's really helping this live situation.
You're here anyway, and I appreciate that so much.
But I think anytime we step out of our comfort zones, we're gonna feel really raw and vulnerable. And abortion it's not just stepping out of our comfort zones. It's like a kick wide open, and we have an opportunity to learn a lot of things about ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Would you be willing to talk about, I wanted to discuss the religion piece, because I love the awareness around, I know that there's a narrative out there that is, it's okay for other people. I just would never make that decision.
Yes. Yeah.
And I talk to a lot of people who say that. And so
I said that.
Right. You're one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that for just a second? How did that transition look for you?
Yeah. And my reasoning for saying that was not religious. So I only say that to say I can't fully identify with someone who comes to me with a Catholic upbringing or, a very strict religious upbringing. But I have many clients who come to me and say, like, there were pro-life signs in my living room growing up, and then I had an abortion, right? So I am fully capable of supporting people through it, but it's not my personal story. Mm-hmm. For me, my story was more like, so I think oftentimes in religion, it's like, will God forgive me? Mm-hmm. That's a big piece, right? And then for me, it was like, can I forgive me? I'm a mom. Like, moms are supposed to love all their children the same. How could I say no to one and not the other three? Mm-hmm. So I love pregnancy, birth, babies, family, mothering so much. I couldn't ever imagine that I would be in a situation where I would say no. And I did not have an abortion for a medical reason. Like, it was strictly lifestyle, strictly choice. I did not want to be pregnant. I did not want to have a fourth child. Like I said, I identified as pro-life because it was like my or pro-choice because it was my political voting, right? Like, that's how I voted. And I was a women's studies major, and I was I was a doula, so I wasn't in, like, right? So I just, of course, women should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies.
Of course.
But I
really would do that.
I'm really maternal. As if maternal people, right? Like, maternal people don't have abortions.
Right.
So for me, it wasn't necessarily religious, but it was this strong belief that, like, moms don't have abortions.
Would that make you a bad mom?
I think it probably would. I mean, now I'm like, wow. I think it probably was, right? Yeah. Like, I'm a bad mom.
Yeah. And that's real. That's so good. You have 3 kids.
I'm such a good mom, by the way. Like, that's.
I know you are. I know you are.
But I think it was like, how could you?
And how did you rationalize that in your brain to go from such a, like, it's just not okay for me, but other people, then go into like, oh wow, I think I might be changing my mind. What was that like?
Self-compassion.
Compassion. Okay.
Self-compassion, right? It has to be. And widen. I'm usually fairly good at widening my perspective. Mm-hmm. So I recognize pretty quickly that I'm thinking about something very narrowly, and then I challenge myself to open my perspective as wide as I can. So that helps with changing belief systems, and then it also helps with self-compassion, right? Because if I can open my perspective to sort of be the watcher of my life, yeah, versus be the, like, in it where I can't see, yeah, then I can say, like, oh wow, right, you were feeling this, this, and this, you were thinking this, this, and this, your life looked like this. Mm-hmm. I can understand why you would make that choice, right? And so yeah, it's like almost stepping aside and looking at yourself with just a very wide, loving lens. I am sometimes annoyingly the devil's advocate. Like, well, yeah, but what about this? And that can cause me problems sometimes. But in a case like this, it's really helpful because it does help me widen the lens really far. And then after I can see lots of perspectives, I get to decide what feels good. Like, what's going to help me be the mom I want to be? Like, what's going to help me be the woman I want to be?
That is so funny that you say that. I feel like that is exactly my MO, and I didn't even know I was doing it until you verbalized it. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like when I get emotional, I call 17 of my friends, including my mother, and I tell them the same story, and then I want to hear every single one of their reactions to it. That's my, like, way through it. Would you suggest that, like, you surround yourself with, well, what would you suggest? Let me just say that. What would you suggest for someone who is watching this right now and either has gone through it or is about to go through it and is having some feelings? What should she do?
Yeah. I think it has to start with believing there's another way to look at it. Not even believing the way you want to see it, right? Because we can easily go through from, like, I'm a bad mom to, no, I'm a good mom. And then we try and prove to ourselves that we're a good mom. But if we don't believe it's possible to think we're a good mom, it's just like beating yourself over the head with, like, glitter wands or something. Like, that, no, this sounds better, so I should keep thinking it. It doesn't work. So I think the first opening is, like, it's possible to believe something different. Mm-hmm. There are other people who think differently. If I felt something different, life might look like this. So it's just like opening with, maybe someday I'll think something different. Yeah. You gotta, like, wiggle your way there instead of, like, going for the big guns. Like, you made the right choice. It was hard and you did what you had to do. Like, that stuff is that. It's like the beating with the glitter wand. I've never used this example, but that's what it feels like. It's like, you can't just make it pretty. You have to actually change the belief. So I think it's starting with, wow, Amanda believes it's possible, right? Yes. Like, I resonate with some of the things she's saying.
Perfect.
My friend, yeah, like, whatever it is, it has to start there to open and loosen. And then it's just slowly adopting new beliefs and also seeing where your old beliefs are coming from, right? Like, mm-hmm. and I think recognizing, if I believe that, like, where else is it affecting my life? Yeah. Like, where else is that showing up?
Right. If I say I'm a bad mom in this situation, then I might believe it also when I'm, like, tucking my kids into bed at night. Like, that might be there in my brain still, and that's something to notice.
Yeah.
to bring up, maybe.
Yeah. It's just like staying curious,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
being willing to look at it investigatively, and lovingly. I mean, it's annoying, but like you really have to you have to like soften and choose love,
Yeah.
to open to widen the lens and be able to love yourself the way you could love. I think about, like, I have teenage daughters now, so I can't imagine them going through this without love and support.
You bring up
And
such a great point too, because if your daughter was going through this, what would you have said to her?
I would break it down teeny tiny, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need right now? What are you feeling right now?
But we beat ourselves up when we're going
Mhm.
through it. But if this was
Yeah.
your child,
Well, when we're going through it, it's, I shouldn't be feeling this right now.
yes.
I shouldn't be doing this right now.
Yes.
I shouldn't have to face this right now. But when it's our kids, we're not like, you shouldn't be feeling that way.
Right. Oh,
I
oh,
know.
oh, that's
We're so mean to ourselves.
we are. We are. I imagine.
Okay, to someone listening to, I want to say one more thing.
What do you want, girlfriend?
Because it was the most important thing that got me through, was I decided, like, I made a decision. No matter how I feel, I'm going to have my own back. And that decision is crucial. Like, no matter how many people I need to talk to, I'm going to heal from this.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how many ways I have to look at this, I'm going to find peace.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I feel sad about it, I'm going to find my freedom. There is a decision that's very important, because it's really easy to start healing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't decided that you're committed to the healing, you would just walk away, put it back in a box, set it aside, and go on with your life.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Yep. I imagine that there are Facebook groups and like maybe like meetup groups that people could meet people.
Yeah.
But would you suggest that? Is that an idea that makes help?
There's one group that I think is more useful than any others I've found. It's called Forbidden Grief.
Ooh.
It was a young woman. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she did a TikTok video saying, like, I'm afraid to say it, but I'm really sad. Actually, I don't even remember the whole content of the video, but she recorded it in her car and it went viral. And then she started this Facebook group, and it's amazing, and I love her. Kayla might be her name. I find that group to be more useful than others. It can be really comforting at first to find other people who've had abortions. Mm-hmm. And that goes a long way, just to know that you're not alone, that it actually is 1 in 3, 1 in 4. That's so helpful. Mm-hmm. But what I find is that many people hit a point where then it's just triggering. Yeah. And if they're not doing the healing work, they're just like opening the wound every time they're in there reading stories and looking for validation that it's okay to feel how I feel, versus finding that for yourself. Like, it can get messy quick, is all I have to say. So pay attention to yourself. If you're opening the group and not feeling good, get out. If you find a group and it is bringing you peace, all in, keep going. But like, know your limits, because they can get messy. Yeah. It can get hard. Yeah.
So the overwhelming theme today, I think, is have compassion for yourself.
I think that is.
All of your feelings are okay.
Yeah.
They are all safe. Everything is fine. Nothing has gone wrong. I love it so much. If people want to work with you, how do we find you? What do you do?
I always joke that you can just Google Amanda abortion, because there's like Nobody doing this work.
Just
I mean,
you. Oh my gosh,
at this point in my
amazing.
life, like, you're not gonna find somebody else, that's for sure.
That is so cool.
I am Amanda Star Kingsley everywhere. So that's my like Instagram handle, my Facebook, my website.
And do you do one-on-one, or do you do
I
group
work one-on-one. At this point, all of my clients start in a 12-week one-on-one package. I find that amount of time gives us like the right nest to do the work, and then either decide to keep working together for fun or to move on. But it's just where I've landed after I've been coaching for 3 years now. So after that amount of time, that's the little container that I like. I also have a podcast with 150 episodes.
What's it called?
It's called Speaking Light into Abortion.
Oh.
Not Making Light, which you referenced earlier.
Yes.
I have a book, which you can find on Amazon or my website. I started writing love notes, like, what do I wish I heard after my own experience? And when I had written 100 of them, I thought, time to put them in a book. So they're just little love notes of things I wish I had heard. And I keep writing those. So my Instagram has a lot of content.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll keep evolving and changing. I don't know what's coming next. Definitely retreats sometime down the way.
Me too. Let's collaborate. I love it.
It's hard with COVID. Like, I had to cancel a trip today because my husband has COVID.
Oh no!
So I was supposed to go to Austin on Wednesday, and I had to cancel it because we found out this morning that he has COVID. So I bring that up to say, like, I'm still not ready to take the leap on retreats because just like, I don't know, what do you do? How do you make it safe? I was like, but I suppose sometimes we will have to overcome that fear, which you talked about at the beginning of the live. Yeah. We love to
notice when it comes up.
Notice the fear, move through it, and host our retreats.
Oh, this is so fun. I can't believe this is where I've landed.
Ta-da! Welcome back to Facebook Live.
It is amazing. You are absolutely amazing. I'm going to end here because I feel like we could go on forever.
We could.
But this, so much content, so much great stuff for people who are going through this today. I appreciate your time so much, and I hope that you'll stay in touch and we can keep collaborating because this is wonderful. I support you fully 100%. Thank you for doing what you do. It's really important. Thank you so much, Amanda. We did it. We came back after maybe 6 months, 8 months. I don't know. There were some tech issues, and like, who cares? Who cares? That was the most amazing, wonderful experience. I hope that you got some stuff out of it because I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. Thank you, Amanda, so much. I can't say enough about how important it is that we talk about stuff that we don't want to talk about. Like, if you don't want to talk about it, there's probably a reason. And so the beautiful part about today is you didn't have to talk about it. You could just feel stuff that comes up in your body and notice it. I love it. I invite you to continue to notice when fear comes up into your body. I want you to identify how it feels, how it shows up, where it is in your body, strong versus weak, what's going on. Get curious and just notice it. You don't have to do anything different. That's the best part. So with that in mind, I love you so much. I'm so happy that we're back, and I can't wait to see you again.